Alright, we're gonna go and start off with black commons. See Chainfail Centipede. The centipede or a quit creature attacks, it gets +2/0 and it has reconfigure 2. So it's like wants to be like a quasi bone splitter 4/2 creature. Eh. I know this is embarrassing, but I probably don't want to play it. I think there's too many 2/2s for 2 for you to play 4/2s. Clawing Torment. Enchant artifact or creature, as long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it cannot block and has -1/-1. Enchanted permanent has, at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life. I know what this is a callback to. It's the callback to the Stabby Stab, which was a 9 out of 10 common back in the day. Stab Wound. This is not Stab Wound. It's much worse than Stab Wound. 1 life is a lot less than 2. But it does have haste. They do lose the card on their upkeep. They lose the 1 life. Don't think this is good. Don't think this is good. I don't think you want to play this. Plus, there's so much gain life in the set that this is not actually taxing their life total. Debt to the Kami. Target opponent exiles a creature they control. Target opponent exiles an enchantment control. This is a reprint, right? I guess it's strictly better reprint. For his libation, yeah. Decline Tormented Defender, I guess. Doesn't seem that good to me. This is like a definition of a 5. The Farika's Libation was a 5. You didn't always play it main deck. If you did play it main deck, it wasn't a big deal. There's enough enchantment creatures that even if they have like an enchantment creature and a non-enchantment creature, you might be able to just nab the enchantment creature anyway, right? If you don't play it, it's fine. It's going to be a really good sideboard card. You can actually get rid of the white arrest with it, which is pretty insane. Dokuchi Shadow Walker. 4 black, ninjutsu, 3 and a black. 5/5. Seems pretty bad. I mean, it's not embarrassing, I guess. I do like that. It beats up on white. I do like that a lot. But it's like a normal filler card. If you play it, it's fine. If you don't play it, that's fine. You don't need to play it. It's not really a 4-mana 5/5 haste, because you had to pay like a 3-mana. You had to pay 3 mana and return a 2-drop, right? Return a 2-power creature. So, like a 7-mana 5/5 haste, I guess. If they didn't block. Which seems hard to accomplish. Inkrise Infiltrator, 2 mana 1/2 Flying Ninja, pay 4 mana +2/+2. This seems like really bad filler. Sure, it's a flying creature for ninjutsu, but this seems pretty bad. I mean, maybe the Shadow Walker is better than I think. Maybe it's a 5. It seems like a pretty tall order to actually be able to hit. Like, if you can't actually trigger ninjutsu, this card seems pretty unplayable. Because then you have a 6-mana 5/5 in your deck, right? Target player discards 2 cards. Ninjas and rogues you control gain menace. Mine routes are always like kind of always playable. This might actually force through a ninja like on hit ability too. It could be okay. Probably closer to a 4. I don't think you play this in every deck. I think you're gonna want the ninja to be like the menace to be relevant to play this card. Boy, black cards are going fast. Kami of Restless Shadows. 5 mana 3/3. When an ETBs, choose 1. Return up to 1 target ninja or rogue card creature from your graveyard to your hand. Okay. So it can like Gravedigger creatures of ninja or rogue type. And then, or put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. You don't draw it. You can put any creature on top, but only raise deads, ninjas, or rogues. This seems pretty medium. If you ninjutsu this, it's kind of crazy, but that's a lot of mana. This seems kind of medium. Like, your ninjas are like 2/2s. Outside of this guy. This seems kind of aggressively medium. When Kami of Terrible Secrets enters the battlefield, if you control an artifact or enchantment, you draw a card. No, if you control an artifact and an enchantment. And You draw a card and wait, and gain 1 life, not lose 1 life. Gain 1 life. Look, this artwork is crazy. Got eyes and ears everywhere. Okay. That's a white-black theme? That's kind of cool. It makes these enchantment, like, it makes turn 2 Era of an Enlightenment or like turn 2 Spirit of Companion so good. It's so easy to go those into some sort of artifact into this black 3/4. That's pretty crazy. Even if you don't have it, a 3/4 for 4 is still fine. Seems fine to me. I don't think having an artifact and an enchantment is really that I don't think it's going to be that hard. I really don't. Target creature gets -2/-2 into the turn. It gets an additional -1/-1 in a turn for each modified creature you control as you cast it. So if they kill your creature in response, it doesn't lower the amount that you're doing this. Okay, I mean, it seems fine. It's probably going to be -3/-3. It's aspiring to be -3/-3, which is a high tier common, right? It might be better than that. It might be -4/-4 or -5/-5. Then it's just amazing, right? It's either a 7 or an 8. I'll be conservative and call it a 7 for now. Just because I think it's going to be hard to have modified, like more than one modified creature. 4 mana, 3/2 Ninjutsu, 2 lifelink. Boy, black cards are really simple so far. I like it. I like this card. Lifelink is pretty good. It's an artifact creature too. It's pretty good with the Kami of Restless Shadows. Because they always want to block this creature, so it's always going to trade. And you can get it back. Lifelink I really like in a ninja deck, but you're not going to be blocking very much. Seems decent. Has 3 mana, 3/2. Has Death Touch as long as you control an artifact. Has Menace as long as you control an enchantment. So it's a 3 cost, 3/2 Menace, Death Touch. Those are good. And it's a Samurai. For like solo attacking things. It's a solid creature. And even if you just have one of them, like a 3 mana 3/2 Death Touch or a 3 mana 3/2 enchantment or a 3 mana 3/2 Menace, those are both good cards. As long as you're a Samurai too. I mean, it's filler, but it's good filler. Menace goes a long way to getting Ninjutsu triggered, right? So if you have both artifacts and enchantment, if you have both an artifact and an enchantment, your opponent doesn't want to block, right? But they don't get 1 for 2, so it triggers Ninjutsu really well. Good blocker with Death Touch. 1 mana, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. There's so much life gain in this set. Holy crap. Exile the Saga, the return the battlefield transformed. 1 mana, 2/2 Menace. Vehicles you control have Menace. And if you ninjutsu this guy, it's so good. You get to just get the ball rolling again. This card's great. Isn't this card great? I feel like this card is great. It's also an enchantment creature. Yeah. I feel like this card is just great. It makes this card so good. Like, Kami of Terrible Secrets gets amazing the more of these cards you have. Yeah, I hate it when they don't have haste when they transform it. That's the thing with Suspend. I think I remember them talking about the Suspend mechanic when they did it, is that they added haste because people just want to do it like, they just expected it to be able to attack on the turn that it came into play, right? I gotcha. I think they had to exile it to remove the counters, right? Could be wrong. To remove the saga counters. Reckoner's Bargain. 2 mana. As additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. You gain life equal to the sacrifice permanent's mana value. So much more gain life. Draw 2 cards. To be clear, on double face cards, the mana value of the card is the same as the front side. So this is a 1-drop. Befriending the mods to be a 4-drop. It's not as good as Deadly Dispute. Deadly Dispute is a card you just played as many as you had. It's actually a constructed staple in multiple formats. It's one of those things that people did not expect to be as good as it was, Deadly Dispute. Like, Deadly Dispute is just insane in multiple formats. Gaining life is much worse than a treasure token. It's like the second Deadly Dispute pays for itself. Because the second Deadly Dispute eats the treasure token from the first one. Like, if they wanted to make this a constructed powerhouse, they could have said, as an additional cost to cast this spell, pay 2 life, sacrifice an artifact or creature. Right? Like, do one of those 3 things. And then they would just have, like... Because then it would pay for itself, because you would gain life from it. Yeah, this is like a bad Village Rites. Yeah. The Village Rites is a card you almost never played. But maybe, I mean, like, maybe this gains 3 or 4 life, but why would you sack, like, a 3 or 4 mana permanent? To gain 3 or 4 life, I guess? Reckoner's Showdown. Target opponent reveals their hand. You may choose an online card from it. If you do, that player discards the card. If you don't, put 2 counters on a creature or vehicle you control. So it's... Look at your hand, put 2 counters on my creature or vehicle, or it's coercion. They just, like, Thoughtseize. I guess it's more of a Thoughtseize. I don't think you main deck this card, but it seems like a reasonable sideboard card. I think it's worse than the Mind Rot. I think it's worse than this. I don't think it's better. I think it's worse. I think the primary mode for this might actually be the 2+1/+1 counters, but you look at their hand, and you're like, oh, you don't have an answer to this, so then I'll just suit up my creature and attack you, right? I feel like this is mostly the 2 counters and not actually the reveal the hand. But then again, there are a lot of lifelink creatures, so maybe it's worth it. It also makes your ninjas attack, right? Maybe this is better than I thought. Maybe it's better than Mind Rot. Maybe it's better than Mind Rot. It's close, either way. These type of effects are typically way better in Sealed than Draft, because the format's so slow. If the format's so slow, Mind Rot's probably just better though, right? Yeah. Return to action. So on a turn, target creature gets +1/+0 and lifelink. Gosh, there's so much lifelink in this set. When this creature dies, return to the battlefield tapped and return its control. I hate these cards. This one's better than most. They printed these types of effects a ton. But this one is better than most. Because instead of costing you life, it gives lifelink. Yeah, it's sweet artwork for sure. I would not play this card most of the time, but I respect you if you do play it. It's not a bad card. I don't like playing it, but it is not an embarrassing card to be playing. This is good offensively, it's good defensively. Yeah, I'll lose this card a ton. The card is definitely not bad. But if you don't play it, it's not a big deal. Twisted Embrace. Enchant artifact or creature you control. Whenever it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. And as long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +1/+1. Okay, so that's pretty bonkers. Gives you a modified creature. Terminates. Could be bad if your opponent kills your creature in response, but so far there haven't been many ways in the format to do that. So this seems like a sorcery speed removal set. You can also just like enchant your vehicle if you think your opponent has something. It's gonna be pretty hard for them to stop you if you do that. Because if your vehicle's not a creature, then whatever. It says target creature and opponent controls, so you can't hit you're not gonna get screwed if your opponent like bounces their own creature in response or something. Seems good. 4 mana sorcery, exile or destroy a creature, plus upside. Yeah, it says as long as the enchanted permanent is a creature, so when you crew the vehicle, it gets bigger. Well, in the past many sets, they've always been 2 black exile a creature or planeswalker at common, so it's pretty not new text there. Tap, create a treasure token. Activate only if a creature died this turn. So it's morbid? That's cool. I think creatures are going to die a lot less in this format than others, though. Although you can do it on your opponent's turn. It seems pretty bad, though. Seems pretty bad. It seems really hard for creatures to die. I don't think they're going to be doing it very often. Yeah. It is an artifact creature that makes more artifacts. But this does not seem great. It's not Sailor of Memes. It is really good with the Oni Cult Anvil. I agree. It's only the card that's better left at home. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. This is a dangerous card. I like it. Ravenous Rats is a card that gets a lot better in slow formats, a lot better in sealed, a lot better when you can return it to your hand. And this format is all three of those. Like if you ninjutsu this, how does your opponent ever win the game? I'm not sure they ever do. And there's a lot of cards in the format that are like, hey, discard an artifact or like another card, right? This card seems pretty good. You don't have to play it. Not embarrassing to play it though. Ravenous Rat is generally a card I sideboarded back in Ravnica, which was a similar format. It was really slow. But it was insane in the sideboard. When he brought it in the mirror match, it was completely insane. It's better than Brain Maggot. With Brain Maggot, they just kill the creature and get it back, right? A meme card. This is an amazing card for Magic. A card name. Because people used to say Abandon Hope. With like Meddling Mage or Pithy Needle if they're about to win the game. They used to say Abandon Hope. But now you say you are already dead. It's a huge buff to Tainted Pact. We have to name a card, and if it's in, yeah. Oh no, not Tainted Pact. Demonic Consultation or something. I don't know. But yeah, huge buff to Magic that this exists. Also, there's the Fist of the North Star meme. This is basically Blade Brand, right? So it's Blade Brand, but you can't just cycle it on turn 2, which is the problem. Yeah. You can't cycle it, so... Blade Brand was a card I typically did not play. So if you play this, it's fine. If you don't play it, it's fine. You have to understand that drawing a card is not drawing a card, because you're playing 17 lands out of 40 in your deck, and every land past your 6 is an actual blank, right? And games that are really long, gonna go really long in this format. So drawing a card is actually drawing like 0.6 of a card. 0.7 of a card. You're just going to draw lands that are just actual blanks. But black looks kind of medium. Are black commons worse than white ones? No, they're about the same. There's the problem I see with black is that I think it's really hard to punch. It's actually like hard to close a game out, is what I'm saying. There's a lot of life gain in the set, a lot of life gain in the format. And it's like outside of Dokuchi Shadow Walker, it seems really hard for black to just actually end the game. Like outside of just having an opening of turn 1 Okiba Reckoner Raid and being able to ninjutsu this over and over to burn your opponent out, I think it's really hard to actually kill them. Like, maybe this Dokuchi Shadow Walker is super important in black because you need a way to actually win the game. But they have a lot of removal spells in black, which is nice. And they have a lot of discard in black. A ton of discard. There's the Virus Beetle, there's the Reckoner Shakedown, and there's the Kaito's Pursuit. There's a ton of discard. And there's a ton of, this Kamiya Terrible Secrets seems like it's like either the best card in your deck or it's just like a medium card. But that's a like a 5 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, that's a good range for a card to have. 9 out of 10, I guess, at this point. But that's a good range for this card to have. And I think it's actually closer to a 9 out of 10 than a 5 out of 10. I don't think it's going to be that hard to have an artifact and an enchantment. I think you're probably going to have like 5 enchantments, 5 or 6 enchantments and 5 or 6 artifacts. I don't think it's that hard by turn 6 to have one of each in play. I think this is probably going to be a 6-drop with like something else. No, Brain Maggot is much worse than Adrenaline. Just from like a high tier Magic, just from a high tier tournament perspective, Virus Beetle is much better than Brain Maggot. It's not really very close. You can like return Virus Beetle to your hand with Ninjutsu, and you can like return it from your graveyard to your hand, and then do it again and do it again. Brain Maggot, you can never do that. Yeah. Brain Maggot is just not a very good card at all. But yeah, that's going to be Black Commons. Looks interesting. It looks like they want to be fast, just like White does. They have a lot of low-to-the-ground stuff. Like, this Okiba, like, How devastating is it if you go turn 1 Okiba Reckoner Raid, turn 2 Okiba Reckoner Raid, and like a tap land? Like turn 3, I guess you can't attack on turn 3, huh? That's not actually that great of an opening. I thought he'd be attacking turn 3 with a Menace, but no, right? No, turn 3 you just have it to untap 2/2 Menace. It's still aggressive, but not nearly as aggressive as I thought it would be. Yeah, I guess you want to go like turn 1 Okiba Reckoner Raid, turn 2 like vehicle, turn 3 like yeah, turn 3 attack with the vehicle, and then play a 3-drop. That's probably what the actual answer is. That's a pretty awesome opening. That's gonna be so hard to come back from. That's so fast. I don't know what 2-mana I don't know what 2-mana vehicles exist in the set, but Okiba Reckoner Raid seems like you either play all of them or none of them. That's what it seems like to me. Alright, let's move on to uncommon and rares. Alright, welcome to our sealed set review. Day 2, we're gonna do the rest of the cards today, hopefully. Starting off with black, uncommons, rares, and mythics. We got Assassin's Ink here. 2 black. Costs 1 less if you have an artifact, and 1 less if you have an enchantment. Okay. Destroy a target creature or planeswalker. Pretty simple card. It's probably just, at the end of the day, it's just likely Hero's Downfall. Right? Which was, what, an uncommon in the last set? I mean, that's probably what this is going to be. And you can't play it on turn 3 a lot of the time. But on turn 4, turn 5, this might cost 2 or 3 mana. It's going to be an 8. Might be the best removal in this set. Dockside Chef. 1 cost, 1/2. Fantastic art. Sacrifice an artifact or creature, draw a card. Now, this was a really important card. What was it? The ice set? Yeah, Soul Reaper of this card was 3 mana, 2/3, sack a creature, draw a card. This card was amazing. Soul Reaper of Mogies. Yeah, the arrest for white looks even worse. The fact that this is an enchantment, it's also relatively cheap to use. It's got a lot of upsides. I have a feeling that, and plus it's also a 1-drop, which lends it to being able to maybe play Dockside Chef and something that cares about enchantments or artifacts in the same turn. This might actually just like be free on a lot of the turns. I haven't really seen a token theme. There was like that one pilot thing earlier, but I don't think there's any treasure. There's not much treasure making. There was a little bit of treasure making in blue, right? There was like some, not this. There was some like uncommon. Was a prosperous thief. Yeah, like, there was a little bit of treasure making there. I don't think there's like token artifact making in this set, or at least not much of it. That being said, it's not a full card on its own. Unlike Soul Reaper of Mogus, like a 3 mana 2/3 is like a legit body. This is not a legitimate body, and it doesn't have good creature types. Human Citizen. It's probably gonna be a 1 of if you do play it. So I don't think you're gonna play this card, but I'm willing to be wrong. I think if you have some token makers, this might be worth it. Or if your opponent is like heavy removal, you bring this in. Or if you have enough enchantment matter stuff, you bring it in. I think you're probably not going to play it main deck a lot of the time. Because as far as I can tell, 2/2 is the baseline, not 2/1 or 3/1. So like a 1/2 body is just not worth it. Although I guess Dockside Chef, I guess maybe 1-drop black creatures have a lot of value because of what I think might be one of the most important commons, which is this one, like being able to ninjutsu turn 2. Maybe that's worth it. Like being able to in a blue-black deck, maybe just 1-drops are really important because you have so many 1s and 2s, like ninjutsus. So maybe I'll put this as a 5 if you're playing in a ninjutsu deck. We'll see. 2 mana, 2/1 ninjutsu. Whenever Dokuchi Silencer deals combat damage to a player, you may discard a creature card. When you do, destroy a target creature or planeswalker that player controls. This is kind of good. It's kind of neat that when you ninjutsu this, you just return the creature to your hand, so you're going to be able to use the ability. Yeah, this is just a good card. I have found one of the problems that I'm seeing that I've observed in all the blue and black cards is that like once the ninjas are in play, they're kind of just there, and the ninjas, the stat lines are heinous. They're just all like 2-1s and 2-2s, right? So I'm not sure what to think about that. Maybe the Dockside Chef is important because it allows you to cycle out your ninjas that are in play to like do something. Is like when you're playing blue black, you're just gonna have a pile of 2-2s in play, and goodness gracious, I hope your opponent doesn't have a 2-3. Enormous Energy Blade. A quick creature gets +4/0 whenever it becomes attached to a creature. Tap that creature. Equip 2. Okay, so here's something to do with all your like 2-2 ninjas. You just give them a giant enormous energy blade, right? The joke with this, of course, is that you generally want to equip this like second main phase. So maybe like tapping the creature doesn't matter. Oh, okay, Hadoken. Yeah, so one of my chatters just commented that one of the jokes of this card is if you have a high crew cost, what you can do is you can equip your creature and then the tap this creature goes on the stack. And then you can respond to that by crewing something with your increased power. So you have a 1/1 and something that has crew 3. You equip your 1/1 in response to the trigger of tap it, you crew your vehicle, then you attack. That's kind of neat. That makes the card a lot better. That's a lot of power to have. That's a lot of power to have. Reminds me of almost reminds me of Volshock Gauntlets, which was like the top tier equipment back in the day. This thing kind of reminds me of like +4/+2. It doesn't untap. That card, Volshock Gauntlets, was an amazing card. But in general, I'm not a huge fan of equipment in Seal, just because between equipment and vehicles, you'd probably rather have a vehicle than an equipment, right? And you don't really have room to play both. But it's possible that just like blue and black decks or maybe the black decks are just not going to have any vehicles, so maybe you just want equipment in the black decks. Your vehicle decks are going to be mostly blue based, like blue white. That could be it. 4 mana. Oh, it's a shrine. 4 mana 2/2 Death Touch. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1. If you do, just target creature with toughness X or less, or X is number of shrines you control. Well, the Death Touch alone makes this card probably fine just to play on its own, and even if you have no other shrines. It's also an enchantment creature. But you can kill an X1. I don't know how many X1s exist. There's a ton of X2s, so if you have a second shrine, this card will just win you the game. I mean, this card's probably good enough on its own. You know, even with nothing else going on. Maybe it's closer to a 7. If you have another shrine, this goes up to like almost an 8 or 9, right? Because then it just becomes Ravenous Chupacabra with Death Touch. If you have a second one, right? So, I mean, this is a 6 or a 9. Gravelighter, 3 mana 2/2 flyer. Enters the battlefield, draw a card if a creature died this turn. Otherwise, each player sacks a creature. Wow, this card is really good. Wow. 3 mana 2/2 draw a card is amazing, especially considering you can ninjutsu this to do it some more. This card is just, and plus, each player sacks a creature. You have a bunch of 2/1 ninjas just lying around not doing anything. This card's amazing, right? This is way better than Flashbag. It has flying. Like, this is an incredible card. Yeah, this is just incredible. Really good. Yeah, really good. Wow. Love it. Yeah, I think this trigger, by the way, I think this trigger matters when it resolves. So, like, it's 2 and a black, and say no creatures have died. You can, like, play this, and then you can respond to the trigger by sacrificing something to draw a card. Like, if you have, like, a Dockside Chef in play, right? So I think it just doesn't matter until it resolves. That's what I'm thinking. This card is also incredible with the flicker effects, right? This card's also incredible with the blue flicker effect. I forget what it's called. Does that change anything? I think it does. I think it changes things. 2 mana 2/2 lifelink, reconfigure 4. 2/2 lifelinkers are always amazing. Just like if it's just 2 cost 2/2 lifelink, the card would already be playable and good. And this has it's also an artifact, and it's also got reconfigure. Lots of build a Baneslayer. Just the fact that it's an artifact creature, I think, is really important. Yeah, what I've noticed so far in white and black is that there's just so much life gain in the set. It's crazy how much life gain there is. This is the most life gain I've ever seen in any Magic set. I don't know how, and not only is there so much life gain, but the saga creatures are so slow. They don't even have haste. So I feel like the games in this format are going to be so slow. They're going to be 10, 11 turns. And I think you should build your deck thinking that the game is going to last forever. And try to go for inevitability. Try to just go huge. And I think Mind Rots are going to be super important. So like maybe that Mind Rot is just better than I think. Kaito's Pursuit. I think like both half of this card is probably really good. I'll just put this up a notch. Mind Rots are excellent in slower formats. And the Ravenous Rats is probably amazing too. Like maybe the Ravenous Rats is just way better than I thought, just because it's an artifact, and I think the card that you make your opponent discard is going to be really important. Or I have it as a 5 already. That's what it is. It's definitely 5 quality. It's like solid filler. Oh no. Oh, okay, no. Got flashbacks to Jitte. Alright. So this is Jitte, right? If you're not familiar with it, this is a callback to the original like Menace. It's actually still banned, right? Isn't it still banned somewhere? I don't remember. Yeah, it's a callback to this. It's still banned in Modern, yeah. It probably doesn't need to be banned in Modern, but if I was gonna think about what card they're gonna unban next on Modern, it'd probably be this one. I don't think there's a lot of reason to unban it, but it is pretty unfun. There's not really a whole lot of, like, you just lock people out of the game. So if you're on, like, person on the play just locks the person on the draw out of the game. So there's not a whole lot of benefit to keeping it, or unbanning it rather, so. But yeah, you do that twice. I haven't really noticed the -1/-1 is going to get people. This might be a main phase 2 thing. Like, main phase 2, you play this, and the next turn you give your creature, you give your ninja +2/+2 to push through. And then the next turn you do this. Okay. Alright. Kind of whatever. It doesn't even have haste either. It's not, this could also just be 2 mana gain for you, right? But what is this? Alright. It's a samurai, I guess. Sure. You have to pay 1 life? Why? The card's probably fine. It seems really hard to ninjutsu this, but I guess it is a samurai, so maybe get some like solo attacking stuff going on. But adding a black to spend this mana only on instants and sorceries, that's just so bizarre. I'm not sure you even play this, but maybe the +2/+2 is way better than I think. You'll probably want to use this for +2/+2 twice. Malicious Malfunction. All creatures get -2/-2. If the creature would die this turn, exile it instead. I don't like these types of effects. I think these are sideboard materials. I would not main deck them. Especially since most of the black cards just die to this anyway. Nazumi Prowler. When enters a battlefield, target creature you control gains Death Touch and Lifelink a turn. Okay, so I get this. You attack with 2 creatures. You attack with like a pair of 2/2s and they have a 3/3. They block your 2/2, you ninjutsu your 2/2, and then you give the creature that blocked your 2/2, that is the 3/3. You give your creature Death Touch and Lifelink, and you trade them off. It's also an artifact creature. Yeah, seems good. It's also just like a 2 mana 3/1. It has a cheap ninjutsu, so it might lend itself to scenarios where like you ninjutsu this, and then you ninjutsu again to give something out that touch and lifelink, right? No, actually is a thing that could be happening. Alright, return to our creature or vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield, then put 2 counters on that permanent if you control an artifact and an enchantment. I generally don't like these types of effects. This can't grab from your opponent's graveyard either. But the fact that if you grab a vehicle, you're gonna have an artifact, right? So you basically just need an enchantment for this. Yeah, it is kind of weird that this was also a white card. Yeah, it was Invoke Justice. It is weird. They, what I've noticed so far in doing this set review is they seem to be hitting the same note a lot, which I'm not a huge fan of. But yeah, I think this is actually just secretly asking you to have an enchantment. Because it's easy to get back an artifact creature or a vehicle with this. Although I guess you could get back an enchantment creature too. But you can't get back a saga creature. Because it's an enchantment in the graveyard and not a creature or vehicle. That being said, I don't know if you really want to be playing this. I guess it depends if you have stuff like Gravelighter to get back. I think this is going to be mostly based on how many enchantment creatures you have. If you've got like 5 or 6 enchantment creatures, play this. If you don't bother. That's kind of the way. Because if you can't get the 2++1 counters, this card is like wildly unplayable. All right, Long Reach of Night. 4 mana. Each opponent sacks a creature unless they discard a card. Exile the saga, then return to the battlefield, transform to your control. 0/4 Menace. Whenever it attacks, it gets +X, +O, until X is the number of creature cards. So it's gonna be like a 3/4 attacker. 0/4 blocker, 3/4 attacker. But it has Menace. So this is pretty insane if you ninjutsu it, but it is really slow. It's like the definition of slow. You can't even attack until turn 7. Although on turn 7 it's pretty likely you can like ninjutsu it and replay it on the same turn. But it's gonna be a slow format, and this ability, the step 1 and step 2 of this is worded in such a way that if your opponent has no cards in the hand, they have to sack a creature. Although if they have no creatures, they don't have to sacrifice it. They don't have to discard a card. That's my understanding of how this works. If they have no creatures in play when you play this, then that just doesn't do anything. That being said, I think this card's pretty good, because I think the format's going to be so slow, and if they ninjutsu this is going to be really hard to come back from. I imagine this card actually might be an 8, with how slow this format's going to turn out. This might be an 8. I don't know if you're going to splash for this. Maybe you do. You might splash for this. Unforgiving 1. 3 mana, 2/3 Menace. Good stat line. Whenever it attacks, return target creature card mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the number of modified creatures you control. Okay. Get back a 1 or a 2 drop, probably. I mean, you'll play it just because it's a 3 mana, 2/3 Menace. I'm not, like, maybe you return, like, you can return your beetle, or you can return your dog, your spirited companion. Like, the Spirit Companion seems like it might be one of the most important cards in the set. It seems like everything wants to either return it or key off it. Yeah, I mean, it is an attack trigger. Sure. You can't ninjutsu it until they choose not to block it, though. I don't know. I haven't really found a way to modify creatures very much in black, right? But it doesn't seem to be not very many good ways to do it. On to rares and mythics. Biting Palm Ninja. 3 mana, 3/3. Ninjutsu 3. Enters the battlefield with a menace counter on it. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may remove a menace counter from it. When you do, that player reveals their hand, and then you choose an online card from it and exile that card. This card seems insane. Is it a modified creature? Okay, yeah, so it's a modified creature. Any counter is a modification. Wow, okay. So it's a 3 mana, 3/3 modified creature that also thought seizes them. Alright. This is just a really, really good card. I imagine just getting annihilated by this card. It castigates him. Yeah. Crazy. Okay. Card's amazing. On every front, the card's just amazing. Hidetsugu, Devouring Chaos, 4 mana, 4/4. 1 mana, sack a creature, draw 2. That's not very exciting. 2 in a red, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. When you exile an online this way, it deals damage equal to the exile card's mana value to any target? Any target? Alright. And you get to scry 2 to set it up. I mean, I guess you could also, like, use the red ability, and then you can just have him eat himself. Does that work? Like, if your opponent was at, like, 1 life, and you just needed to direct damage to them, can you use the red ability, then just eat himself? To make sure you hit a non-land? Because I think it doesn't have to be in play when the red ability resolves for it to matter. Yeah, this card is really good. I don't know how the nested triggers work. Like it says, when you exile a non-land card this way, I don't know if he has to be in play to see it. I don't think so. But the way it's worded is that you don't have to choose a target until you get to see the card that's revealed. This is a new thing that they're doing. A couple of years ago, that would not have been the case. You would have needed to choose a target before even seeing the card. They changed it, and it was like, so it was a Heart Piercer Manticore or something. It was like a new style of nesting triggers so that you can actually choose the target after you have new information. Alright, target opponent sacks a creature. If they can't, they lose 2 life and you draw a card. Then repeat this process for an enchantment and a planeswalker. So they sacrifice a creature, sacrifice an enchantment, sacrifice a planeswalker. If they don't... Or it says, no, if they can't. Not if they don't, it's the if they can't. Okay. So in reality, this is probably... 5 mana, they lose a creature, an enchantment, and you draw a card, and they lose 2 life. Right? It's just a double edict. They lose 2, draw a card, is what it looks like. Or if they sack, if they have like a creature and an enchantment creature, if they have 2 creatures in play, and they sack an enchantment creature to the first part. And so they keep their non-enchantment creature, but then they lose 4 life and you draw 2 cards. Either way, the card is good. The question is the quad black. I haven't really seen any like black mana fixing. So this seems difficult. The thing is though, Twisted Embrace requires you to be 9 black. It's kind of weird how white, there's a ton of white mana fixing in white with Sunblade Samurai as well. And blue really wants you to be heavy blue because they have the counterspell and they have lots of double blue cards. And then but black has not very many double black cards. Except they're like probably one of their best comments probably is double black. So but yeah, their removal spells are double black. So they want you to be black. Like, you kind of want to have 9 swamps, but you need 10 plus backdoor sources to have a quad black card in your deck. This is really hard to play. And if you this on turn 7 is not very good, right? Which is the likely turn you'll be able to cast this on. I don't know. It's not a 9 or a 10. It's the question is whether it's like a 6, 7, or 8. I feel like it's closer to a 6 because of the mana cost, but the games are going to go long enough maybe that you can afford it. As additional cost to cast this spell, you may exile any number of black cards from your hand. Just cost. Okay, you're never going to do that. March of Wretched Sorrow deals X damage to a creature or planeswalker and you gain X life. Okay, so this is not as good as Erebos' Intervention, which was actually a constructed sideboard card, right? It was really good and limited. So that has a decent pedigree. I think dealing -S -S is way better than dealing damage though. You're likely to open between 1 and 3 of the dual lands. They have 6 chances at 33% chance as far as I know. They didn't give us specifics on the chances. I mean, this card's fine. It's not amazing. It's not an 8. Like a 6 or a 7. 4 mana, deal 3, gain 3 is kind of whatever. But Whenever it's a 2-mana crew 2 4/3 vehicle. Whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice another artifact or creature. When you do, put a counter on this and it gains menace. Okay. I mean, it's a 2-mana 4/3 crew 2. This card's just really good. And your opponent's got to be thinking that like they can't go very low with this in play, because you might just be able to menace it out, right? You can like play a creature, crew it, and then attack, and then sack whatever you crewed with it, right? Card's fine. Choose one. One black sorcery, choose one. If you control an artifact and an enchantment, choose both. Exile target creature or planeswalker. Or return target creature or planeswalker. So it's just like Raise Dead, right? So it's Raise Dead or Hero's Downfall or both. I mean, yeah, this card's great. Is this thing worded the same way? That's really weird. But like this says when it enters the battlefield, but there's been some other cards that say like as you cast it. So maybe they just put as you cast on the like the non-creatures. That is weird though. I guess the creatures you don't want to have that text because you want them to be able to be clonable. I guess so. Yeah, this card's great. Probably one of the best cards in the set. Because it exiles too. Kills the dragons so they don't get anything out of it. That card's really good. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, if you don't control a creature named Kaimi, create Kaimi, a legendary 3/3 black and green frog with whenever you cast an enchantment spell, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Okay, so it's a pair of 3/3s. It's a pair of 3/3s. And then this and target frog can't be blocked this turn except by those with flying and reach. Oh, flying or reach. Alright. So like it has like fake flying. So it's like fake. It's a pair of 3/3s with flying and drain. Alright. And the 3/3, if it dies, you can just make another one. Alright. Oh, it's supposed to be jumping. Oh, that's why only flyers and reach can block it, I guess. You do have to have an enchantment for the next one, but that doesn't seem very hard. It might be a 10 out of 10 in black white. Maybe it's like only an 8 or 9 out of 10 in other color combinations. Oh, okay. So he can't jump on its own. That's interesting. Because it says target frog you control. So if you don't have a frog, then this fellow can't even jump. So you have to have this requires an enchantment to really do anything. I'm sure it'll play out amazingly. So 2 mana. Wait, what? 2 mana each opponent creates a 1 black rat rogue? Why do I want to give my opponent 1/1s? Alright, this is a 1 out of 10. I'm gonna put a 1 here. Oh wait, there's a back cut, okay. When it enters the battlefield, gain control. What? Getting control of all rat tokens. Whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice another creature if you do draw a card. Wait, it has haste. A saga creature with haste? What's up with that? Okay, so this is almost a 10, isn't it? It's at least a 9. It's at least a 9. It might be a 10. It's just, I mean, it's just a black Mulldrifter, right? It's a black Mulldrifter that costs 2 instead of 5. I mean, you lose 3 life. You lose 3 life for it. But it's a black Mulldrifter where you lose 3 life, but yeah. I guess this card's pretty bad if your opponent has a Dockside Chef to serve up some rats to their allies, right? Or if they have ninjutsu to just eat the rats. That could be really bad. If your opponent ninjutsus the rats away. Like you might just be ritualing your opponent. This card could be terrible, actually. I'll put it as a 9. This card could be heinous. If you play this on turn 2 and your opponent just like attacks with a rat and ninjutsus, you're just like, oh no. Yeah, ninjutsu is actually a giant problem. This is really bad against blue-black. It's probably fine against everything else, but it is really, really, really bad against blue-black. Like, so bad that you actually just board it out if you're against blue-black, probably. You're not a fan of these types of cards? Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly a dangerous card if your opponent has a swamp or an island in play. I'll put it as an 8 just because of that, which I think almost all your opponents are going to be blue or black. Could be dangerous. You can just block the rats down? Well, if you just block the rats down, the card is pretty bad. Right? Maybe it isn't. But how are you going to know? Like, you're just always going to block the rats? I don't know. Like, unless you play the turn 1 Dockside Chef, you're not even going to be able to block anyways. Alright, Blade of the Oni. 2 mana Menace, 3/1. Your quick creature has base power, toughness, 5/5, menace, and is a black demon. Yeah, this card's really good. Okay. I mean, it'll probably give a creature +2/+2 in menace. Or +3/+3 in menace, or +3/+2 in menace. It's also a 2 mana 3/1 menace, so it hits everything, right? Flying Menace. Whenever it dies, choose one. Each opponent discards 2 cards and loses 2 life. Put target non-demon creature card from a graveyard, any graveyard, onto the battlefield under your control, you lose 2 life. Card's great. You're always gonna play it. Yeah, I guess Blade of the Oni is way better than Tribute to Hirobi, right? Maybe I'll make this an 8. Oh, it is an 8. Yeah, okay. Now we're good. You don't think the Junji is a 10? I don't think so. I mean, maybe it is. Flying and Menace? Oh, it's non-dragon. No, not non-demon. I said non-demon earlier. It's non-dragon. I don't think... things that can just die, I don't think are 10s. Although, if this dies, you get a creature back. So this might be a 10. Because even if you kill it, something else comes back. It's probably pretty close to a 10. What if they arrest it? Yeah, great. What if your opponent counterspells it? I'm surprised you're not that person in chat who says it can't be a 10 out of 10. What if they just counter it? It's a common in the set. Thanks, buddy. I think it might be too dangerous to target your stuff in your opponent's graveyard because they can just bounce it to their hand pretty easily. There's a couple of bounce spells in blue. Yeah. Nashi Moon Sage's Scion, 3 mana 3/2 ninjutsu 4. Whenever it deals damage to a player, combat damage to a player, exile the top card of each player's library until the turn. You may play one of those cards. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost. Alright. Sure. Sure. It's the same problem with all the other rats and ninjas, is that the stat line is kind of whatever. There's a ton of 2/2s in the set, so... you're going to need to find some way to push these creatures through. Or give them evasion. Which is maybe why the, maybe this card is just way better than I think. Maybe I'll bump this up to a 6 if you're white-black. Right? Like, maybe this card is just way better than I thought. Just being able to get through ninjas. Maybe this is just way too good. This card might just be too important. Not only as a way to push through your own ninjas, but just getting a 2/4 flying blocker so your opponent can't do the same. Maybe that's just like what the card's job is. Yeah, it looks like Preventing the Moths might be super. Like on turn 4, you use it to get through a ninja, and then on turn 5 you have mana open, so you attack, you get your combat trigger, or you like ninjutsu whatever you attacked with, and then you replay whatever you bounced to your hand. On turn 5, and then turn 6, you have a 2/4 blocker. That's what it looks like this card's trying to be. Now that I'm looking at it, the original Kamigawa was tough to evaluate because that was the time when they still had like a block drafts format, so you only had 1 or 2 packs of the new set, or even just 1 pack of the new set. So like there wasn't really a ninjutsu thing going on, because Saviors of Kamigawa was such a... if you haven't seen Saviors of Kamigawa, you don't want to. It's a heinous... it's just a heinous set. The strategy... One of the strategies in Saviors of Kamigawa was don't play your cards. Not even joking. There was a cycle of cards that said if you have 7 cards in your hand, do something. One of them was... the black one was 3 mana 2/2. If you have 7 cards in your hand, it has +2/+1 in menace. So the plan is you just play that, and you just don't play any more cards, and you just kill them with the 4/3 manas. As fun as that sounds, it wasn't. Because when I show up to play Magic, you know what I want to do? Not play my cards. But yeah, the black commons look pretty bad, but the black uncommons and rares look amazing, and most of them are just like ninja, on hit, kill you, or terminates, right? I think one of the most important cards for black is going to be Kami of Terrible Secrets. Like, it's gonna matter. It's gonna matter so much if you can trigger this. If you can trigger Kami of Terrible Secrets, it seems like you're just gonna roll over the game. Because this is a common, you can open like 2 to 3 of these. It's like it's a pretty oversized body for its mana cost, 7 stat points, and if you gaining a life and drawing a card is so insane that if you can trigger this, it's just lights out. But black also has the mind rots. I think the format is going to be really slow. There's a ton of life gain, and I think it's going to be pretty easy to set up just like an unbeatable board and value people out when you're playing the color black, because you have enough terminates to stop whatever they're doing, and you have enough value that if it gets to turn 10 and turn 11, you're going to end up with 2 or 3 cards in the hand, and your opponent's going to be top decking. So your only real concern is finding some way for your ninjas to not get bricked by a 2/4. So you have to, like, maybe Chainfail Centipede. Like, maybe this is super important to the strategy just for making your ninjas not be trash. It's also an artifact creature. And maybe Dockside Chef is really important, just having an enchantment for your 3/4s to trigger off of. Enough for black.